Moving on to our final presenters today on this stage, we will welcome Marek from Slido, who is currently leading the data organization at Slido, where they are trying to change the way audiences interact. And from this point on, I will just give it over to him. A huge round of applause, please.
Well, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for stopping by. At this stage, right? As I was told, this is the last session of the whole stage, as it seems like. Um, the thing above sort of is not correct in the sense that seeing how this is the last presentation, we thought we would shake it up a bit. And so with me, I am indeed Marek, but with me is another Peter, and I'd like him to introduce himself quite a bit.
Oh, so I'm Peter. I work at Slido for like 6 years already. I worked on quite a few projects, mostly front-end, but I'm a software engineer at Slido. So that's me.
Awesome. So normally, and at a slide like this, we would do things like gauge sort of the understanding of the audience, like to what extent are you familiar with Slido. So let's do something different in here, seeing how Slido is being used at the conference. Like, who hasn't had any experience with Slido so far? Raise your hand. All right. If that's the case, then don't you worry, because we are going to use it like straight away. Obviously, we got the dog food this stuff. So I would like to ask you to sort of go to slido.com. The first thing you'll see is sort of an input box, which will ask you for an event code. That's Slido at Craft. It'll be very easy to input, or alternatively, you can also very easily use the QR code there on the right. And in there, we have a quick poll for you. So look, we can do it any way you want. We are in here basically for you. We are happy to do like any sort of presentation you would like us to do, so do tell us. There's quite a few people in here. I was told there's quite a few people on the stream as well. Do let us know which of these would you sort of prepare. I don't know. I can see like on the order of 30, at least 30 to 40, perhaps 50 people. So let's wait a bit. We have like 24 responses. Let's see if we can get it to at least, I don't know. What'd you say, Peter? 35?
Yeah. I'm just wondering, is this the point we talk about the ukulele? Because there can be some people confused about the ukulele image and the ukulele I'm holding in my hands. Don't be stressed. Like we will have a quiz at the end of this presentation, and this is the prize. Ukulele branded with Slido. You can win this one. The questions are not gonna be that difficult. There's like no raffle around the whole craft. It's just one of you is gonna win it. So like the chances are high.
Also, like, you can buy ukulele anywhere, but Slido branded ukulele, I don't think so. So let's see what the poll results show. And it seems that you would be into sort of a deeper technical discussion. I guess we can do that, well, at least partially. But the funny anecdotes also sort of play a part, that's for sure.
You're gonna get funny anecdotes. You are gonna get the ukulele. Deeper technical discussion, I think we can manage, yeah, put it into presentation, or you stop by, talk to us, anything?
For sure. Pilsner are a little bit different. They'll be difficult to do, and well, I'm not sure what's your idea of short, but we have a timer here, and it says 43 minutes, so we'll try to make it like finish it up in that time. Awesome, thank you very much. So the first poll is done. Let's see. Let's try a different tack. Suppose someone told you blank-driven development. So what's the first blank you would sort of kind of like that would come to your mind? Do tell us in that poll. Is it, I don't know, Peter, what would be your blank? We are not like using Slido here.
Test-driven development.
Right, like there is also being in this data organization ourselves. So probably something like data-driven development might also work, right?
Maybe fear-driven development.
Fear-driven development, that also works.
Pain-driven development.
What would that be?
Like if something really pains you in the product, you just have to develop it. That's
or the opposite of joy-driven development, right? Like you like it so much, you simply cannot like.
Yeah, but joy-driven development is a good one.
Would that work? Would something like I don't know, promotion-driven development work, or is that
For someone,
is that too much? Okay.
We
All
have
right,
42 votes,
42
2 participants
votes.
typing.
Let's see. But there are 3 more people typing. Let's give them a. I don't know.
I think we can.
Those 10 seconds. All right. Let's see the results. So like we have sales, like deadline-driven development, keyboard-driven development. Let's say that's one we didn't really. That's one really didn't really think of. Behavior-driven development, test-driven development, obviously. Drunk-driven development. I mean, it's probably doable. Profit-driven development. That works. That works, right?
Development-driven development, yeah.
Development-driven development.
Yeah.
That's meta. That's what I was sort of hoping to see in here as well. Crash-driven development, beer-driven development. Beautiful. Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for your answers. Monkey-driven development. I mean, all right. I guess we had too much fun in here. Anyhow, the reason why we sort of try to do this is that because when we were sort of asked to, or when I was asked to do a presentation at the innovation stage, we were wondering like what could we, like a company of sort of, you know, our size, our sort of engineering posture, even like bring to a stage that has innovation in its name. And like apart from the ukuleles, I mean, we're thinking like there might be sort of things that no one else has mentioned. Like you might have heard things about how to structure teams in here, right in the previous presentation, all the way down to how intent classification or natural language understanding might sort of revamp the whole enterprise and stuff like that. Well, I guess we have something that you might not have heard about. And we could perhaps introduce that with a nice story, and that story would be with this guy. And this guy is also the reason why Peter is here, because the story basically comes off of him. So
yeah,
Peter, keep me honest here. So who's this guy?
If you don't know these guys, so this is Massimo Bottura. He comes from Modena, Italy, and he's a famous Italian chef. I believe 3 Michelin stars.
Okay.
And he's kind of crazy, like Marek, but in a different way. And so what happened? What happened with Massimo?
Well, the way I remember the story it was something like the following. He has this like very famous restaurant. The restaurant is basically extra expensive. You're basically guaranteed to get great food there. And he obviously doesn't cook everything himself, but the one time they had this basically closing situation where it was towards the end of the shift.
So like imagine it's the end of the shift. There are 2 last customers waiting for their dessert. So 2 last portions of dessert, and dessert is something it takes time to prepare. And they were at the very last stage of plating it. Like you put it on a plate and then serve it. It's like if you are releasing to production. It's the very last thing. You don't want to screw anything up in that very moment, right? So what happened?
So like the way I heard it was that the dessert was actually fairly straightforward. It was lemon tart.
It's a lemon tart. Yeah.
It's a lemon tart, right? And although Massimo is effectively the chef there,
there's one more guy in the story. Let's introduce him.
Right. This is what's his name again?
I just forgot. But like imagine this: like you have a chef in a restaurant. And then that actually like is the master chef, but then the chef that actually cooks the dishes. So this is him, comes from Japan, and
his name is
what
Taka
happened?
Kondo.
Taka.
Well, he's like a famous chef himself as well, it seems. But if I understand it correctly, he sort of didn't make the plating right.
So what happened? He plated the first lemon tart correctly, then the second lemon tart dropped. He dropped it on the floor. It broke, shattered, done. Like what do you do in that situation?
That's a good question. The what I heard was that, well, being from Japan and whatnot, he was basically ready to how do we put it neatly, like Kim Hills.
There's a word for it, seppuke, I believe.
I guess the translation is kill himself, mostly because like you don't fail at your job in that sort of a culture. But Massimo, the Italian chef, basically said like no, what you're doing here might be worth something. On the contrary, it might be beautiful. It might be not the lemon tart we had in the beginning, but something that's like not that, but still sort of Interesting. And if I understand correctly, this is what it looked like.
So we'll be talking about failure and failure-driven development, how they made a development out of this failure. Basically what Massimo did, he renamed the cake from lemon tart to oops, I dropped the lemon tart. And they basically plated the first one as well as the second one in this very way, presented these to customers. They were maybe shocked, but I guess they were content and left the restaurant with a happy experience. If you go to the restaurant now and you order, oops, I dropped that lemon tart, you are going to get this. And it's going to look very much like this.
And pay on the order of hundreds of euros, obviously, because like it became a signature dish and so on. But like what we wanted to get from this story, or where I got sort of interest in this, is that it's a beautiful metaphor for what we'll probably go through. Like we cannot really share much about all too many interesting stories with very new technologies, or we are not really breaking any extra specific ground anywhere. But we do have our fair share of experience with failure. And we perhaps can sort of share a couple of stories how we were able to sort of turn a bit of a failure into something that ended up being fairly positive for our customers and at the end for us as well.
Yeah. So we have like 5 stories. Let's
take
go
the first one,
them.
right?
So first one, quizzes. You will use quiz at the end of this presentation, so hold on to that. And let's talk about why quizzes were a failure. And it comes down to this office in London at WeWork. We have a ping pong table. And this one guy approached me in this very office and he was like, after 7 years of not having quizzes in Slido, can we do it in 2 months? So that's the fail. Like, how do you forget to develop quizzes for 7 years and then want to do them in 2 months? So that happened. And I was young and stupid enough to say, yes, we can. So we got into it and did it, basically. And there are a few other failures and wins along the way. So what happened? Basically, I said yes, but I had a few requirements. One of them was I get 2 developers, which I closely worked with before. We were close in one office, just the 3 of us. No interruptions, no meetings for 1 month, food and everything. So we wanted it all. This is the office. Doesn't look like much, but it has flowers and a puzzle on my table over there. All right, this is one of the few photos from that area, like from that part of my life. I didn't take many photos. I don't care about the wine or the cheap food. The curls, the sugar is what we wanted.
So tell us how much we are looking at.
Like 3 euros before inflation. I don't know. All right, then this. So how do you not fail in this situation? You don't fail by making a plan that you basically cannot fail with. You can see 4 stages or 4 levels of our quizzes. And the interesting thing is that the level 1 already delivers some kind of quizzes into Slido, and it's doable in less than 1 week. So I promised them quizzes in 2 months. I could do it in 1 week. They would be like lame quizzes, but they would be there. So there's the number 1 already checked off. I didn't even have time to take a photo of it not checked off. And then like level 2 is leaderboard. We have that in production. Level 3 is quiz joining. There's a smiley face next to it. And then timer. And we actually got all 4 in 2 months. With a bit like with some tears. This is the progress. You can see you wanted deep technical discussions. There was one deep technical discussion happening, and this is the diagram we came up with during that. You can zoom in into it as well. If you are really interested in how timers work in Slido, or you have other ideas, come up to us. We have a booth over there. Like, come talk to us. We'll have the deeper technical discussion about architecture of timer. All right, this is already Mishko releasing it to production. One of the 2 developers. You should always wear a helmet when doing something dangerous. So this is him. I'm seeing someone taking a photo. I'll wait for a short while, but not too long. All right. This is the other developer, Shimon. He is like not that sad. He just wanted to make a cool photo, but made it into a sad developer Slack emoji. It's a quite popular one in our Slack. All right. Right into another failure. So we were developing this because of a conference, not Craft conference. It was Web Summit. If you don't know it, it takes place in Lisbon. And it's like around 70,000 participants attend that one. It's the biggest technological conference in Europe, I believe. And the plan was to finish quizzes before that. We did. We came to Web Summit. We had quizzes finished. We had 2 moderators ready to test it. We didn't test it anywhere like on a large scale like that before. We were testing it in the production. And the problem we stumbled upon was like those moderators couldn't figure out a good question in a very short time we gave them. So meet Neil with socks in his hands. That was the first prize for the first quiz. Those were Slido socks that he somehow found and gave away. And this is the stage itself with 2,000 people sitting around and the Slido socks. And also Natalie with a panda plushie. So these 2 couldn't really figure out good questions for the quizzes. And what we ended up doing was Googling like good questions about animals because it was called Panda Stage. So we did that, but we learned that people aren't that good at coming up with good questions. They will have the quizzes feature, etc. But the figuring out of the good question isn't that easy. What we ended up turning this fail into is a feature, and we came up with a random quiz question generator. This is what it looks like. So we are thinking of a question. I'm like, how many steps does Eiffel Tower have, right? But then you have to come up with the correct and incorrect options as well. And it's not that easy, so let's click the button instead, generate new quiz question, and you get poetry. You get music, all with the correct and incorrect answers, anything in there. So if you're in rush, you don't know what the question should be, you just click one button a few times, like board games, right? And this last one is a good one. Not this one. It's about Rome. When was Rome in Italy founded? So this is what we developed out of the experience of 2 moderators not knowing what questions to ask. So that's a failure turned into a product feature. So far, yeah, one last number from me. So far, 3 years after releasing it, 2,040,000 people have seen a randomly generated question on a quiz on a stage just like yourself. So that's a pretty cool number, I guess.
So I guess the question is, will this number increase after this session?
I didn't. Well, maybe those are tracked, but they are not going to be used. So no, those aren't going to be counted. And our quiz questions are original.
Way too original, that's for sure. Also, beautiful, thank you. Okay, so let's stay with quizzes for quite a bit, and this next story, which will be also fairly quick, hopefully quite neat, is based on my personal experience. I tend to have quite a bit of free time, right? And so I also still teach at the university, and especially during pandemic times, so during times when you cannot really have eye-to-eye contact with the students you're teaching, having something like a quiz is definitely very, very helpful. So I was trying to make use of quizzes, and I didn't really have the problem Peter was just describing. My problem was mostly as follows: when you are creating a quiz and you know what you're going to ask, right? There's basically 3 steps. So like, you have the questions that you'd like to ask. You normally also know the answers to them. So like, if you are asking about Eiffel Tower, you probably should know something about Eiffel Tower. That's for sure. Well, in the second step, what you normally do would be that you would sort of get some sort of volunteers, like 100 of students or something, basically let them fill in sort of their sort of answers to the questions, and then simply aggregate the most frequent responses, and you get a very neat kind of a data set from which you can basically like get the answers to those questions, like get the incorrect answers as well as the correct ones fairly quickly. Well, my only problem is that like the second step, getting any volunteers, that's basically impossible to do, right? Like, I don't have 100 students beforehand before I'm trying it out. I don't even have a sort of, I don't even have that much time to invest into something like this. So we were thinking, like, is there a way to sort of automatically generate wrong answers to questions I already know I want to ask? Possibly, if I already know the answer to that sort of a question, and the answer turns out to be, well, possibly, mostly because this sort of stuff tends to be trending, and I get that you can't really see that, but there was a time when the large language models out there were hyped up because you could basically send in a query like, give me a black button saying OpenAI and an orange button saying, I don't know, Themesburg, and lo and behold, this is some sort of a Tailwind, I believe, theme, or like basically a HTML, seems like even valid HTML, that you can simply sort of paste into your web page, and here is what the result looks like. And so the concept that's being used in here is called large language models, and now how these works, these are very sort of, conceptually at least, it's not that complicated. What they do is that given a history, given sort of a prefix, some sort of text, as the input, they would try to sort of figure out or model or predict what the next token should be in that sort of a sentence. So see here, for instance, in the example on the top, there's something on the order of she said, some comma, basically some rubbish, and then I never. And now we have the model basically of thinking that the next word could be like thought, and you had, and so on and so forth. In the example below, we have an example of a sentence that's sort of well formed out. It's on the order of I ate the pizza while it was still, and now there is a chance that like you eat pizza while it is like hot, while it is, I don't know, being heated on, or like while it's still fresh, and so on and so forth, and hence the distribution that we can see there on the right. So we were thinking like, would it be possible to sort of do something similar here? We would basically give the model the input question, then perhaps the correct answer, and using the data we already can use from the previous usages of the quizzes, can we sort of teach the model to sort of predict the incorrect answers, sort of correctly incorrect answers to the questions that we got? And turns out it sort of works. And let me walk you through a quick video of a demo of that. So we'll have a question on the order of which one of these is not a fruit, right? And so like watermelon. I mean, I don't know if I know, but let's assume for the sake of the argument that yes, watermelon is not really a fruit. So what we are after is basically something that would be fruit, and as you can see, it sort of messes up stuff fairly quickly. You could see green there, you could see like mint there, you could see grilled there. Like it is still sort of wrong, but at the end of the day, that's what we are after, right? We want the wrong answers. They just should be somewhat passable. So we didn't really see adoption on the order of what Peter was showing. That is a sort of a smallish feature. Only a couple of people or like a couple of users find out that there's this magic wand you can use to see to basically get some sort of small spark of creativity going. But it's still a neat feature, and we have a very positive reviews of those power users that actually find it out. And it all happened thanks to basically a failure of me not being able to put together quizzes for some of my classes. Cool. The other story, the next story that we'll go through is really rather technical, rather deep, and it concerns this concept of cascading deletes. Mostly sort of relevant in MySQL databases, and how we arrived at this sort of a problem was as follows. We were and like still are trying to move from something you would call a sort of single master setup or single master architecture we have at Slido to something that would resemble a diagram like this, where we have currently a source database. That source database creates a transaction log, basically called a bin log in MySQL. We would then use some sort of software that is capable of doing change data capture. So for each insert, update, delete, or create, it can like take a note of the fact that it happened. That happens thanks to the bin log. And using this bin log, the information that has happened would then flow to various Kafka topics, and from there on, various consumers would take them and sort of process them. what we use this for is to basically have a kind of a copy of the source database somewhere else where we can do computation that wouldn't then sort of affect the master I was talking about. And so this is all nice and good. It also looks nice. It's an architecture you can sort of describe in one slide if you'd like. But the actual principal problem is that when you do it this way, you end up with a sort of a non-trivial pickle, which is that, as you'll find out, the foreign key constraints that are set up with the delete cascade sort of parameter, which is a fairly standard thing to do in MySQL, tend not to be inserted into the bin log over here. And why is that? Well, you basically look it up or try to look it up and figure out that it's been like that. This problem has been seen for quite a bit. The quite a bit in there is getting up to being like 15 years now. And effectively the assessment that you get from the MySQL community or the contributors to MySQL is that while this is on the actual engine that's implementing this, in our case that would be InnoDB, I believe, and the answer is that, well, what you are running into is the internal sort of internal implementation detail of the InnoDB engine, as you can see in here, and there is no way that the server can be informed about the fact that the initial rows were affected, and blah blah blah, and so on and so forth. So, in principle, you run into something that ends up being a feature at the end of the day. The only problem is that this feature basically makes you GDPR non-compliant straight away, because you are not deleting stuff that has been deleted basically automatically, since you have the cascading deletes set up from the ground up on your application. So the way we sort of approached something like this, it was that although we don't seem to be the only ones, we couldn't find out something that would solve this like in a neat and a robust manner. And like, let me show you something that's also not neat and robust. But if that works, we might end up sort of presenting some sort of an open source solution basically next year. What I'm showing on this slide is the sort of quick query you can run on information schema, on basically any information schema that has cascading deletes set up somewhere, and it'll basically allow you to see that the relationships between the columns that are sort of foreign referenced in between various tables, and then it'll sort of also allow you to kind of navigate through the whole direct acyclic graph of dependencies. And at the end of the day, you can end up with something like this, which is what we have currently in production, and this is like this is the way we've dealt with something like that, which is that you'll end up with a specific consumer that will only filter out the deletes, and will try to recreate the deletes that would have happened on InnoDB, but we'll recreate them as Kafka topics as Kafka messages in the specific topics, such that you can then consume it as you would normally do. So it's basically a smallish fix in the larger scheme of things. And again, the way I'm presenting it in here is very intentional. We don't have this tested such that we would sort of present it as something we would encourage all of you to do, but it seems that it might be rather promising. So cascading deletes. It turns out there might be a sort of opportunity to solve that, not really once and for all, but sort of in a rather robust way. All right, Peter, how much time do we have? Tell me.
13 minutes, or almost 14.
13
I think we have
minutes.
enough time.
Okay, so then when we were trying to get ready for this talk, we were thinking, like, do we really make it technical or do we not make it technical? We didn't really know what the sort of outline would look like. So let us try to give you a small story on something that was also failure based or failure driven, but it wasn't all that technical. But it'll sort of tie it back to the ukulele, so it's worth listening to. How's that sound? All right. So let's see if we can do that. So. It turns out that in this team of ours, apart from other people, from me and Peter, we have all sorts of other interesting individuals. One of them is Andrei Baran. Andrei is a data engineer by, I don't know, occupancy right now. By trade, I'm not even gonna guess. Apart from that, he's a very good cook. Not really like a 3 Michelin star level, but fairly good cook. And he hasn't had a very sort of easy childhood, as he told us, in particular with regards to doing stuff that concerns music. And this is a direct quote from his music teacher in the primary school, who effectively said that, Andrei, when we end up playing or singing or something, like, feel free to draw. It'll be for the best. And so we took that as a failure. Team-wise, we took that as a failure. That necessarily is not a good pedagogical approach to something like, music teaching, especially on the primary primary school level. So being engineers somewhat, we sort of took it in an engineering fashion and picked the easiest instrument we could think of. Easiest instrument in the sense that if you'd like, you can 3D print it. Here is an ukulele in 3 parts. If you have a normal 3D printer.
Let's say intentionally in 3 parts.
It's intentionally in 3 parts, mostly because the 3D printer wasn't large enough. Something like that.
Yep.
When you put it together, it actually even plays, and so that's pretty neat. All you need is the chromatics on the top and some strings, but basically any nylon will do in the end. So you go from 3 parts to 1 part. You can also do 2 parts when you sort of do not really transport it in a neat way. But at the end of the day, it turns out that the ukulele is fairly conducive to basically a group activity that's not that difficult to start with, and that brings a ton of joy. And so in here we are playing some sort of "Don't Query, Be Happy" song, which sort of reflects the state of our warehouse at the time. And if you are extra lucky, like I ended up being, that very same band effectively comes to your wedding as well, which is like, this is a picture that's about a month old, and the whole thing is extremely sort of it's contagious. Let me put it this way. Why is that? Well, let's take a look. This guy on the left, that's that Baran guy. He looks like that. This guy on the right, that's Peter over there, and this guy is another Peter, and he happens to be the CEO of basically our company. So what I wanted to sort of take away from this sort of experience is that the failure to kind of see how you could do interesting stuff with music can be sort of transformed into a passion that is then very difficult to stop. And so to encourage you to do something similar, we have a ukulele of our own, which is Slido branded. And so now, ladies and gentlemen, comes the time for that quiz. So do take out your mobile devices or wherever you'd like to sort of play the quiz with us.
If you have a laptop in your hands, it works as well, no matter where, no matter what.
Right. We have about 5 questions for you. So how about you take it away, Peter?
Yeah, so basically I'm going to explain what's going to happen. Because I know fairly well about quizzes. Happens to be because I was on the team that was developing them. So I'm going to make it as fair as possible. I'm going to explain how they work, explain how it's like evaluated so that all of you have equal chance to win this ukulele with included 1-year warranty if you happen to be over here in Budapest, because that's where we purchased it. So yeah, quizzes, feel free to join. You probably know the drill or understand how it works. Scan the QR code with your mobile phone, try to pinch in, that works, or go to slido.com and enter Slido at Crafts. We are going to wait for a bit. While you are joining in, we are then going to go through 5 questions. For each of them, you are going to have 20 seconds. If you miss those 20 seconds, there's no way of going back. You are not gonna be able to vote again. So make sure to vote in those 20 seconds. And also, the time matters. So if there happens to be multiple people with the same number of correct answers, the one that was the fastest is gonna get the ukulele. If at the end it ends up being like the similar number of seconds, don't worry, we count it to a number of milliseconds, and you're not gonna get the same milliseconds in that sense. I counted around 75 people in the audience. We have 52 people joining here. So let's wait for a short while. Is anyone still trying to join? Anyone still trying to join? One raise hand, because he's taking a photo of me raising a hand. All right. So join up, we'll wait for you. We are nice people. 54, are you good? Oh man, you're good, right? All right. So, the very first question is gonna be an easy one. How many beers did Craft Conference consume yesterday from our booth? If you didn't know, we used to have beer, still have some beer at our booth. How many beers did you people guys consume from our booth? So what is it? Was it 10, 32, 80, 210, or 753?
It was mostly Pilsner, if that helps. So
I believe you had 30 seconds on this first question, but it's going to be 20 seconds on the rest of them. 3, 2, 1. Everyone voted. 55 out of 55.
Very awesome.
Perfect. So these are your votes. You're thinking 210. Unfortunately, we were protecting the beer really well. You only got 80 cans of beer from us. So let's see what the next question is. How many engineers are actively writing code at Slido? Is it 10? Is it 32? 80? 210? Or 753? You might have seen these very same numbers in the previous... hurry up, the timer is shorter. 6 seconds, 5 seconds.
5 more people?
All right, votes are coming in. 32. You think 32? Huh. It's actually the same as the number of beers we managed to hand out yesterday. So yeah, 80 engineers in Slido.
And the obvious question is what are 80 engineers doing with something like this, a straightforward to write up? You get drunk on Friday, this is done on Monday, right? So that's what we've been discussing in the booth over there, and we are happy to give you a long slew of explanations. Let me tell you. The cascading deletes is one of those things.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Let's get into the next question. So which of these features are powered by machine learning? There are multiple correct answers in this one. Similar questions, random quiz options, sentiment analysis, questions topics. Multiple correct options.
I guess the home take point is yes, we have machine learning too, but we don't brag about it. Not that
3
much.
seconds, 2 seconds. Hurry up. Alrighty. This was a trick one. We tried to trick you. All of them are powered by machine learning. So similar questions, if you type in a question, and there are already some similar ones, and there's hundreds of them, you're not gonna look through them. So we can suggest them to you. Random quiz options, you've seen that one. Sentiment analysis of sentiment in questions. And questions topics, if there are a lot of questions, we can extract topics, and group them together in a nice way. So that's it. Let's continue.
Let's see what the results look like, right?
So 3 questions so far. We have 2 more, but let's see what the leaderboard currently looks like. So we have Janos at the top with 2 correct.
But it's tied up, right?
It's tied up with 35 seconds, but the milliseconds aren't the same. Janos works actually quicker than Mihaly. Sorry about that.
It's getting really tight.
We can get it to network tab and see you will see that it's not the same. All right. 2 more questions. So many people still fighting for the ukulele, and let's see what this one brings. How many releases did we do in 2021?
The whole year.
1 release, 14, 148, or 1,485? What do you think? How often do we happen to release?
Many votes coming in.
3 seconds. Marek, would you want to work in a company that's only released once a year?
Yeah, not for long. Let me tell you,
long.
not for long. Probably not now.
Would you wish to work in a company that released more than 1,000 times per year with 80
For sure,
developers?
if you screw something up, that's what you need to do. You can fix it right back, right?
Yeah, we actually went that high. Yeah, we released 1,485 times last year. It's pretty that's something we are happy about. We like it that way. All right. Anything else, or are we going to the very last
Let's
question?
go to the last one.
It's
We are
gonna
out of
decide.
time anyway.
Are we? 1 minute. All right. Which one of these hackathon features made it to production? Spotify integration, color customizations, image polls, or voice control Q&A? So one of these made it to production. All of these came up as an ideas on a hackathon.
I guess we can talk a bit about the hackathon. At
No
least
time
in
for
here.
that. Yeah. 5 seconds. And this is a hard one, we know.
Alright, but
It's a hard one, but you could guess.
You do have to like explain what hackathons are, though.
Hackathons. So basically, we take 3 days of our time and use it as a creative vacation, let's say. So we encourage everyone to participate in this hackathon, but nobody is like obliged to. And you can do whatever you want. We want you to work on something you weren't allowed to work on previously, that or your manager didn't want you to work on. Let's put it that way.
You don't normally work on.
Yeah, and lots of creative ideas come out of this. All of these are past hackathon ideas, like voice control Q&A, so that we can, when a speaker is speaking and is reading a question out loud, it automatically highlights it and archives it. It worked on a hackathon. It's not in production. Other one is Spotify integration, so like like a disco mode, you vote for songs instead of questions, and they are then played. All right. Color customizations, like this wall is white thanks to a color customization. So that's one of the correct options for this question. And the other one is image polls. You've seen one image poll in this presentation with the ukulele at the beginning, so this was an easy one. So there are 2 correct options in this one. Color customizations and image polls. Let's see the results with a confetti. Janos, all right, 4 correct answers.
Let's give it up
1 minute.
for them. So if you'd like to sort of come up here on the stage, we can.
How do we do? Is Janos in here? That's you. That's you.
It's
I
you.
saw you smile. All right, you get a bag as well. There's the warranty we've received as well. You're gonna know how much we spent. Doesn't matter, whatever. So the ukulele is yours. Enjoy.
We'll take a photo afterwards.
Yep. So what now?
Beautiful. I mean, let's just close it up. Look, again, thank you very much for being here with us. This guy was the inspiration for what we were trying to do in here, and he has this one little nice quote that I'd like to sort of leave us with, which is that he said that you gotta leave free space in your life, free from all obligations for what he calls poetry. That's like very Italian. But what he means by that is that, you then sort of realize that the mistakes are human. It's normal to make mistakes, and in a certain way, they are beautiful. And in a certain way, they might bring sort of future developments, and in some sort of a way, that's perhaps the only way of innovation, of scalable innovation we know at Slido. And so if you liked what you saw in here, chances are you might like to work in an environment like that. And if that's the case, check out the Pilsner over there. Will be still there for at least a couple of minutes. Once again, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. And should you have any sort of questions or stuff like that, we'll be happy to answer them. Thank you.